Even though Warren Beatty had a small office in Beverly Hills, he preferred to work out of an Italian cafe in Bel Air. He always chose a window table, which I thought was a way of being seen by all who walked by, which of course it was. Okay, he was a great guy, I really liked him, but perhaps he was somewhat vain. Jack Nicholson popped in one day and waved, but that was the most I saw of him. Anyway, Warren and James Toback, the co-writer of the Bugsy script, were usually comfortably settled with their espressos by the time Barry and I joined them. Coffee was ordered, and the work began. Discussions took place about the necessity of certain scenes and dialogue, and I made notes in shorthand and then incorporated the changes into the script when I got back to the office at Barry's house. At the same time, I was still putting together the premiere of Avalon in Baltimore, which was going to benefit one of Diana Levinson's charities. She had invitations that needed to go out, addresses to be checked, and all kinds of details that all had to be taken care of yesterday. I thought that Diana needed her own assistant because I seemed to be constantly on call to deal with whatever she needed me to do. This could vary from making sure the Levinson cars were serviced, interviewing new nannies for Sam and Jack, as well as taking care of any other general problems that might come up with the house staff. For instance, with the housekeeper, the cleaner, the cook, the gardener. I particularly found it difficult when I was trying to concentrate on transcribing my shorthand for the Bugsy script and was then pulled away to deal with domestic duties, answer phone calls related to Diana's charity, compose her correspondence, etc., etc., etc. At the same time, as Barry's personal assistant, I was also dealing with his day-to-day business. Before we actually started on the Bugsy script, I was thrilled to be able to go into the recording studio and see Randy Newman conducting a full orchestra to create the Avalon film score he'd composed. It was really fascinating seeing how he chose music to match different scenes in the film and how the various musicians worked to enhance the action. It made me realize the importance of music in film and that it truly is another character. I had no idea there was so much involved, and it gave me a new appreciation of the melding of these two creative arts. I later had another opportunity to be in a scoring session for the film Jacob's Ladder, directed by Adrian Lyne, who also directed Fatal Attraction and Indecent Proposal. Actually, a year earlier, while I was in Philadelphia auditioning actors for Avalon, I'd had a call from the English director asking if I was available to cast actors in Thailand for his latest film, Jacob's Ladder, which was a Vietnam-themed psychological horror film. Of course, I wasn't available. As it happens, Matt Craven, who I'd previously cast in Tin Men, and who was instrumental in me casting Israel and Franja Rubenek in Avalon, had a lead role in Jacob's Ladder. He'd invited me to the studio to see the renowned composer and conductor Maurice Jarre producing the score to the film. Now, this was the man who'd composed the music to all of David Lean's films, including Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago. So I truly felt honored to be watching how the full orchestra brought Maurice Jarre's musical creation and the film to life. It was magical for all of us seeing this true master in action. Now back to the Bel Air Cafe and work on the Bugsy script. From my first meeting with Warren Beatty, he treated me with the utmost respect, unlike James Toback, who hardly acknowledged that I was there. I didn't quite fit the profile of the young and sexy girls he was known to have around him, despite the fact that he was married. I thought he was sleazy anyway, and Diana Levinson felt the same. Unfortunately, Barry liked Toback for his quick mind and his humour, although it was often crude, which, to his credit, wasn't exactly Barry's style. I later had to deal with Toback on a couple of other projects that Barry brought him in on, and I never warmed to him. When the Me Too movement came about, after the sexual abuse allegations against Harvey Weinstein, several women complained about similar treatment from James Toback. Of course, he vehemently denied anything inappropriate, but when eventually over 300 women came forward, it seemed hard to dismiss, and frankly, I believed every one of them. At the Bel Air Cafe office, as mentioned, Warren was always very respectful to me and acknowledged whenever I had any input, whereas Toback and Barry did not. In fact, in one instance, I made a comment about the behaviour of a character that seemed incongruous with the role. Barry said, "It's okay, let's move on." But Warren agreed with me. "Yes, you're right, Marie. We need to change that. Thanks for picking that up." One day I had a bad cold, which was turning bronchial. Barry never commented on it, but Warren noticed right away and seemed quite concerned. He ordered tea with lemon and honey for me and continued to pamper me throughout our writing session, which I really appreciated. However, back at Barry's house later, even though I wasn't feeling well, I was still expected to take care of all of my other duties, as well as Diana's. That night, I woke up and had a revelation. I have to get it off my chest. I knew I needed to talk to Barry. I wasn't happy and was overwhelmed with all the extra work I was doing for Diana. I also wanted a producer credit on Bugsy. Then I thought of the power of the mind-body connection. I had congestion and literally did need to get all of my feelings off my chest before I could feel better. So the next day, I asked Barry if I could get a producer credit on Bugsy. You don't want to be a producer. Why do you want to do that?" he responded. "Yes, I do." "Well, I need you to take care of whatever I need and everything here." I told him that I felt overwhelmed, especially when Diana was giving me so much to do. I suggested she hire her own assistant. He just looked at me, didn't say anything. Then I said, "My responsibility is to you, Barry." "Your responsibility is to both of us," he replied. Well, that was it. I knew then that I couldn't continue this way. I told him that I would be leaving at the end of the week. "Well, what are you going to do?" I told him that I was going to write my own screenplay of my experiences working at the US Army Hospital in Stuttgart. I'd previously told the story to Barry and he thought it was interesting. Then he said, "Well, you know, the door's always open, Marie, if you ever want to come back." Since Barry had his assistant Jennifer in the Baltimore Pictures office, I suggested she take over a lot of my duties before he was able to hire someone else. It wasn't as if I was leaving him high and dry. I know he was shocked, as was Diana. I'd worked full-time with Barry for 6 years, been part of the family, but I knew it was time to move on. Now, some might think it was a risky thing to do, especially not having another job to go to. But in my gut, I knew it was the right thing to do. I also trusted what my mind and body were telling me. I needed to be true to myself. I wasn't being respected or appreciated, which was the very reason I decided to leave the Samuel Goldwyn Company a few years earlier. No matter how glamorous or wonderful a job may be, it's not worth sacrificing your health or your happiness for the glory of others. Next time, a big surprise for me at the Writers Guild Awards. If you're enjoying my episodes, my social media guru, Horatio, has asked that you please like the recordings, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when I post my next episode on Sunday. Many thanks, and your support is greatly appreciated.